Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Souls Finish Strong Graduate Student Writing Clinic. This mini lesson is going to be on order of importance within our writing. My name is Professor Emily Packer, and I'm so excited to be here today to help you on your writing journey. So how is this writing clinic going to be structured? So we're going to be workshopping as we go, which means that I'm going to be providing academic writing suggestions. We're going to review key points in relation to order of importance. And it would be wonderful if you had a document or documents up that you can review as we are going through these key points. I encourage you to adjust and revise as we go. But of course, if you have any questions or concerns, you can always visit us at the Writing Center. We're here to help you. Send in your paper, let's meet, and we can talk about any things that you still have questions about. Before we jump into order of importance, let's check in with ourselves. So what are you struggling the most with your order of your writing? Now, this can be that you're not really sure the purpose of why you've ordered things in a specific way. It could be that there is no order to your writing. It can be that you're not really sure how to do this in academic writing, but just pause the video and take a second and think about this. Okay, so I want you to keep that at the forefront of your mind as we're going through this workshop. And if you still have questions or concerns at the end, please reach out to the Writing Center. Now, let's talk about order of importance in our writing. Order of importance is important, okay? It's really important in argumentative and persuasive papers where usually we present our strongest points first. However, order of importance is applied to all papers: descriptive, narrative, cause and effect, compare and contrast, research papers, and lit reviews. And I am guessing that if you're watching this, you're specifically looking for some support in regard to research papers and literature reviews. So we're going to talk about that. When we're thinking about order of importance, we're thinking about organization. So we are thinking about how our paper is organized. Of course, we're going to have an introduction, we're going to have our body paragraphs, and then we're going to have a conclusion. But usually within our body paragraphs is when we get a little lost. You know, why would we put the body paragraph number 1 as body paragraph number 1? Why would we put number 3 as number 3? What's our reasoning behind here? What is the connection? And that's where we are going to talk about strength and purpose. So strength means that the connections between your ideas are clearly seen and understood. So your reader is reading through your paper and they go, yeah, I get it. I understand why she, for example, put these ideas in this order. It makes sense to me. You don't want your reader to read through your paper and go, I don't know how these are connected. I don't know why these ideas are in the same paragraph. I don't know why they put this one after the other one. You want the reader to go, this makes sense. This is a well-crafted argument, for example. And then you also want to look at the purpose. So the reasoning behind the connection can be clearly seen and understood. So we see the connection and then we get the reasoning. Okay, so this is really important. And if you can't tell, most likely your reader won't be able to tell. So as you're going through your own writing, if you're not really seeing connections, if you're not understanding the purpose of why you put certain things in certain places, your reader is really not going to be able to do that either. So remember, we're looking at strength between connections and purpose, which is the reasoning behind the connections. All right, so in body paragraphs, which are the paragraphs between our intro and our conclusion, we usually have quite a few body paragraphs and perhaps some sub paragraphs. And a very, very, very important part of our writing is the use of headings and subheadings. So once you've established categories and relationships, we want to add headers and subheaders. Excuse me. So I want you to go on Purdue OWL, check out APA 7 and see what or how to do this. There's very specific ways to do this for each header and subheader. This is one of the biggest suggestions we give our students who come into the Writing Center, especially those whose writing is, they've gotten a little lost in their writing. And they say, I don't know where to go from here. I'm not really sure how I got here. We say, hey, go ahead and start putting in headers and subheaders. If you're realizing that these ideas don't match your headers or subheaders, start moving them around. So this can help a lot with organization. How you organize your paper can be in a variety of manners. Chronologically, thematically, and methodologically are just 3 examples. The majority of students who come into the Writing Center are writing thematically. And this can give us a little bit of trouble because it's really up to us to decide on how everything is connected if we're organizing our paper thematically. Now, that really gives us the freedom to craft our argument or main points in the way that we want, but it also can be a little bit intimidating. So let's talk about some strategies to use while we're writing or even before we get started. My number 1 suggestion is to use an outline. And I'm going to present you with a very basic outline, but your outline can be crafted and should be crafted by you. And it should be able to almost be like a checklist of different parts of your paper. And you can look at your outline and you can start moving things around. You can start playing with the connections, but your outline serves as a map for your writing. So I always encourage students to create an outline before they get started, but also to go back and revisit it as they're writing. Because lots of times when we're writing, we come up with different ideas. Same with researching, we find new ideas, and we need to start adjusting the organization. But using an outline can be really helpful. And then we can start asking ourselves these questions. What's the connection between body 1 and body 2? Is there a connection? Is the connection clear? Is it clear to me? If it's not clear to me, it's not going to be clear to my readers. And why did the topic of body 1 go first? Like, what's the purpose of that? Remember, we're thinking about strength and purpose. For example, some of my students decide that body 1 is going to be almost like a historical overview of the topic that they've chosen. For some students, they decide that they want to provide the historical context for the readers to understand the rest of the paper. That is great reasoning. If you just say, I don't know, I put body 1 there, it was the first thing I thought of. That is a valid statement, but we want to dig into that a little bit more. Why was it the first thing that you thought of? Is it the most important thing? Do you need to read through body 1 to be able to understand body 2? And that point is what a lot of students fall back on. They say, well, I need my readers to understand this point before they move on. That's a great reason, okay? Organizing your order of importance in terms of being informative is an awesome way to do that, okay? So yeah, just remember, this is a very basic outline. You don't have to follow it, but this is just as an example. Now let's take a second and look at the order of this person's outline. We have our introduction, we have body 1, and we have body 2. So if you've watched my other videos, we've talked about transitions, we've talked about topic sentences and thesis. Now, you can see that our introduction usually is a hook, which draws the reader in. Then we provide background information, any information the reader needs to be able to understand the thesis. So this is where we define our constructs. Then we have our thesis statement, which is usually 1 to 2 sentences that explains the purpose of the paper, explains our main point, our topic. Then we go into body 1. You don't need to start a transition with a topic sentence with the transition, but you can, and I've put it here, as I've said, as training wheels in my other video, and we can take it off later, okay? But this can just help us kind of get mentally organized as we're writing. So we want a strong topic sentence, then we want our examples and explanations, and then we want a concluding sentence. Again, this is very basic. This is most likely not exactly how you're going to organize with 2 examples, but you can see that you can start thinking about what you're going to write about. And here, what's really important is that we have our topic sentences and our concluding sentences, and they frame our body paragraphs. Something that's not mentioned here is adding headers and subheaders. So if you wanted a few sub paragraphs of body 1, we want to make sure to add that headers and subheaders for our readers to help navigate our writing. Now, we also want to use the outline to be able to think critically about the evidence that we provide. So what is the connection between evidence 1 and 2? Why did I put this one first? Is there a strong connection here? Is it clear for the reader? And to make sure that we're not just throwing in random information. Otherwise, that's going to seem very disjointed. So we need to figure out, okay, within this body paragraph, why did I write this example first? Okay, what was the reason behind that? And then did I transition effectively into my second example? Because transitions, remember, is where we're showing our connection. So remember, our outline can help us think critically about the connections between body paragraphs, so more on a macro level, and then our connections between our pieces of evidence within our body paragraphs, more on a micro level. And again, here's an example of somebody's outline. So we have effective solutions, training community members to interview, canvassing local areas, identifying local organizations, include incentives. So what is the connection here? And I can't answer that for you. The only person who can is you. If you're thinking, I don't really have a connection, or I don't really have a reason I put this first, start reflecting on that and say, okay, can I make sure that this connection is clear? Because if there isn't one, my reader isn't going to find that either, and it might be kind of hard to understand. So reflect on this, ask yourself these important questions. What also helps me, because I'm a very visual person, is to create a map. So this is an example of a literature review map. If you've come to the literature review workshops, we go into this in greater detail. But to help with order of importance, it can help to map out our ideas. So for my friends who are really like writing based, creating an outline like this can really help. For my other friends who are more visual based, you can create these maps, move these ideas around, and start deciding, okay, well, this is actually needed to understand this next point, so I'll put this one first, and to start playing around with the different ideas and the connections. So what I would love for you to do is pause this video and take note of how you ordered your writing. So take a look at your paper, go through and you could start outlining, you can start mapping, or you can just start narrative writing or reflection. Why did I order my ideas in the way that I ordered them? So pause the video and go ahead and do that. Okay, well, we are at the end of our mini lesson on order of importance. I hope it was helpful. Remember, we covered ideas like outlining and mapping and reflecting on the purpose and strength of our connections. If you have any other questions, please visit us at the Writing Center. We're here to help you. If you have any other questions outside of this topic, we're here to help you as well. Remember, whenever you submit your paper, you can always tell us what you want us to focus on specifically. But thank you so much for coming to this presentation. I wish you the best of luck as you continue your writing journey, and please reach out with any questions. Thank you.